See.
How do you get it?
Recording is on.
Welcome to DXgov discussion for Wednesday, January 12th, 1600 UTC. We will start with the proposal roundup. I will share my screen here. So actually no proposals right now on mainnet. There actually are 3 proposals that are waiting execution, and I think that's this is all because of the mainnet gas prices, which have been high for a long time, but over the last 4 days have been very stubbornly high in the kind of 150s and up range. So that's kind of limiting some of the action on mainnet there. So on XDAI, you can see here just the proposals that are up. We have a buyback order that's going to pass actually in 40 minutes. So maybe even on this call here, this is for 12.16 WETH 107 there. There are worker proposals. Lucy Foss, the payout for the second half of his worker proposal there, that's going to pass in 17 hours. And then there are 2 proposals from Nathan, the end of his previous proposal to 1.7, and the one looking forward to for January to the beginning of March. And as you notice with Nathan and other proposals that are coming in going forward, these are going under the new compensation guidelines here. So you can see here, Nathan has noticed his new level, and then that's reflected in the base there. I do not think we haven't yet submitted these through the new flow or the new scheme, but yeah, it's good to see the people submitting proposals through the new compensation scheme. And then there is an Atlantis World grant proposal. This one was submitted late last week and then boosted. And so it's actually got 2 days, just over 2 days left. And this is a 40K grant to them in addition to a 10K unspecified amount that will be deposited for a carrot campaign. So they are an NFT, I guess a more metaverse style project. I'm not extremely familiar with them, but if you support DX Ventures investment in this, make sure and go and vote there. And this is actually the proposal that's sending the funds itself. There is not a corresponding mainnet proposal. And then there is a contributor proposal from Medusha and Levotiate. These, I believe, are the new ones, also under the beginning program there. And then, this was it. The Medusha is in from last year there. And then, we have not boosted this one yet. It'll boost in 50 minutes, but this is space age development work in December. This is, I think it's the 5th month or 4th month that we've been, started, I think in August, so the 5th month that we've been working with Space Inch. This one is a little bit more, it's 26,000 USDC that is being transferred. This is because they actually added a new person, Kinga, who is working on some testing in QA for Swapper. We should get them to change correct the words for Swapper there. But this one is boosted an hour, and we'll set the payout there. Just another shout out to Dave, that the reason that there is USDC in the treasury for this proposal is because of the trade last week for 50K XDAI to USDC. So some nice functioning there instead of having to either get them to go to mainnet to get the proposal or to actually transfer some USDC over themselves. So that was good. And then the other ones that have just been submitted today that are in the pre-boosted phase, there's another buyback order, 108, Decentral Labs, aka Dave, aka Flu Drop, which with some very precise 2 decimal point calculations on splitting up time between the 2 months there. This is boosted there and will be ready to be voted on in 19 hours. And then the last one is, Levotiate, the one that, I said earlier, that one was just boosted right before the call. And that should be it for proposals on, Gnosis Chain and all of the other live proposals. Any questions, comments, concerns on those? Cool. And then you'll notice on, I guess moving to discussion items, you'll notice at the top on DXgov here, there are 2 proposals here that look like they're pending execution. This is permissions for the quick wallet scheme 1.1 and 1.1. And so I guess these there was an issue with these executing, so they have to be redeployed there. And so maybe Ross or Gusto want to just kind of comment briefly on the permissions here.
Sure, yeah. So I think we went into in quite a bit of detail on the call yesterday. So I guess if you want a bit more detail, you could check that out from the dev call. But essentially, there was a permission that was set incorrectly in the deploy script for the quick wallet schemes, which was setting them to use the avatar generic calls, which they don't need. And so it was kind of highlighted here. It was the first time we noticed it. So this is fail. I tried to execute these, but they fail, which is correct. That's what it should be doing. But yeah, we just missed that when we were registering the schemes. And so solutions to this is, I guess, still, DM Dave for funny memes. So the solution here is that we redeploy. I believe, I guess there's already redeployed these today, and I think we're going to get set up to re-register them in XDAI and Arbitrum, and I'm sure we'll deregister the old ones at the same time, just so we don't have 3 versions of quick wallet schemes floating around. And alongside that, Chris kind of highlighted that it's probably good to have a bit more structure around how we do these changes, and so making a forum post about the steps they're taking and what they're doing is probably the best way for all future changes. I guess it's kind of similar to how we did the swapper deployment on Arbitrum and the swapper, like how we had in detail what the steps were and what was happening. I think it makes sense to have that written up for governance operations also, just before we do them, so that people can understand it and replicate it themselves. And alongside that, I'm also going to add a few of those operations to the documentations that I'm writing up as well, just to cover some more advanced operational stuff so that it can be replicated by anyone. And these will stay here for a while because they can't be executed.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. So that, like, I guess they will, when they time out, is there like a timeout on these?
There is, yeah, it's 23 days.
Stop showing up at the top of the UI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I think like the forum post and also like getting on this call and kind of explaining a little bit for us not as technically savvy is, I think, good for just like really understanding the changes that are going on, and like this is a big deal in the sense of how we update different parameters, how we kind of adjust the infrastructure that we're operating on. And it's not so much that there's a process that will like check off everything is good to go, a-okay. I think it's more about just documenting the process along so that we can see when there are changes and we need to adjust different things. So I think this is as I said, this is Wallet Scheme 1.1. So there was a previous one that we had some similar issues with. And so kind of following along that whole process helps us understand, actually, I think, kind of the whole scheme architecture and what is being done there. So it is, a good learning experience.
Sure. Just a slight clarification. They were both issues, obviously. One of them was an actual bug in the code, and one of them was just human error where we overlooked something.
Yeah, so this one was actually the proposal itself as opposed to
I'll
the
try and
scheme.
link
Is that
it.
correct? Yeah. And I guess would this be tender? Couldn't simulate this on tenderly? And can we now?
Oh, the actually executing this, it actually shows you in MetaMask it won't work. And same thing in tenderly, I think. For the one we're looking at just now. So this doesn't have any issues if the wallet scheme was set up correctly to mirror the existing ones. Then this would have executed fine.
Cool. Any other thoughts, questions?
That's the link to the original. Sorry, Chris. That's the link to the original proposal that had the issue. And if anyone wants to see, you can see in the initialized transaction, in the block scout link, there's if you go to the logs, you can actually see it setting the third parameter to true when it should actually be false. And so what this step should have included is going into the link to the initialization transaction and confirming that they're the same.
Cool. Okay, and then moving along, wanted to take just a minute here and talk about this post from last week from the HATS team on a potential finance collaboration with DXgov. And so, of course, DXgov had invested into HATS and has been working with them in the last several months, but this would be the beginning of actually depositing DXD into the vault to begin the incentive program for a bug bounty reporting system. This would, in addition to incentivizing white hat hackers to use this system if they discover any vulnerabilities in any of the DXDAO contracts, it will also be able to farm some of the HATS token. I think it's they're calling protocol protection mining there. So I think they suggested 790 DXD, which I guess is around 500K there. And yeah, I just wanted to see if there was any discussion on this or thoughts on this or objections or comments on moving forward.
I have one comment, which is that this will be into the pool, but the pool will also be open to any DXD holder to deposit in. So just to keep that in mind when you're thinking about what the value of the pool may be in the future. I mean, it actually already has, at least the last I checked, there was, I don't know, something like $50,000 worth of DXD already in the pool, and they haven't started their, I think they're calling it security. I forget what they're calling it, but some kind of liquidity mining where they will reward depositors in the pool. So yeah, so this would be like DXDAO put some in, and then you could imagine other folks also putting DXD in. So the total value of the pool could be something higher than just this amount.
Yeah, I just pulled up the HATS DApp.
One interesting is that can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I this is all really new still, and so there's a bunch of vaults here. It doesn't look like any of these protocols from like a maybe like a DAO perspective, have put in that size of an amount yet. Yeah, that's B protocol 322,000 seems like the biggest one. And we don't know if that's people, individual. I guess we could look on chain and see who's entering the vault. We don't know if the project like Claros and B protocol are putting that in, or if and liquidity are putting it in, or if just people who hold those tokens. I guess that would be interesting to know. That means we would be the biggest amount by far from a DAO going into a vault in this very new system, and so there is risk to that for sure. We're pretty close with them. I think they're probably trying to get more DAOs to do that, and because we're close with them, I think us leading the way is, though it is riskier, it also first ofs is always like good marketing, right? So if we do this and we put this in and say the DAO put this in, like lead by example, we can market that around, and then other people will probably follow, and then that's another example of DXDAO leading the way in kind of this decentralized version of bug bounty. So, but it is risky because, like, I mean, personally, I would never want to be the biggest amount of money into any protocol like when it first starts, right? And so this would be what DXDAO is doing right now.
In addition to the marketing value and kind of the strong support it shows from DXDAO, which I think is good beyond the marketing, because Hats is we made an investment in Hats, right? I'm not making that up. Like, it's good to I think support the portfolio company, I think, right? Or the project.
Like, none of these others invested. Presumably, none of these other projects invested in Hats. Right?
Yeah, I'm
They're
not
just
sure.
doing it for their own. Yeah.
But I think it sends a good message, I think, to the potential the entrepreneurs that could potentially work with DXDAO, that we like back our projects. And then in addition to that, there's again, I forget what it's called. I think it's protocol protection mining or security. I forget what they're calling it.
Protocol protection mining. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the distribution kind of like decays over time. So in addition to the marketing and the support of Hats, we would also be earning, a lion's share of that protocol, like protection mining distribution.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while now. I think we should get a live proposal to move. That amount seems reasonable. As we saw, like a few $1 million saved Polygon somehow. So like having $500,000 from DXDAO, and then, like you said, John, other people, I think like myself and Elon and a few other people, I've already put some money in there, and so more DXD holders will do it, and so maybe it gets to around $1 million, and a $1 million bounty on contracts if there's actually a problem, like DXgov contracts or whatever. Like, yeah, it would be like, we've never had a bug bounty in place, and you really need to have a bug bounty in place, otherwise all your money is, I mean, your money's always at risk, but you might as well have the bug bounty in place. It's like a much better, we'd rather pay $1 million than someone drain the treasury or something like that. Right.
Yeah, and I think it's also a cool thing to reply with, like, how does DXDAO do things differently? And it's like, well, yeah, our bug bounty program, we're actually using a decentralized service, not having one like the other ones that are more centralized.
So
yeah, I guess for me, the two questions are one is, I guess the two questions for me are one, the amount, and kind of the discussion we're having here, it does seem a little high given the other ones, but I think that number, I think it makes sense to be the biggest one, because we're kind of supporting it, and because these other projects may have their own bug bounty programs that they're using in a centralized manner, but this is really the only thing for DXDAO. Plus DXDAO, if there's one thing DXDAO has a lot of, it's DXD. So I'm not, it is not as concerned on kind of taking from something else. So I think around this number makes sense. And then the second question is, how exactly do we execute this? I'm guessing we have to use some type of multi-sig to do this. And so the proposal would probably need to be a transfer of DXD to the multi-sig, and then it is the one that's actually interacting with the hats contracts.
So there is a multi-sig, the so-called like dev multi-sig that has been kind of the longest standing multi-sig working, with DXDAO, that has like rep holders bigger than 1% and, includes myself and some others. And actually, I think, Chris, if you want to look in the UI at the DXDAO, if you expand it, I think you maybe even see the members of the committee, which are also the people.
Look at that.
Yeah. So there we are. And I think it actually needs a little bit of an update because Nico is no longer on the multi-sig. And I think we have Dave. Is Dave, maybe he's down there below, but there's like one change to the multi-sig. So that needs to be updated. But yeah, I think what Hats in that post was suggesting the funds go to the multi-sig and that the multi-sig deposits into the security vault. Yeah. So that's what they were suggesting, which I guess makes sense. I think in theory we could do it with like a custom relayer or whatever, but probably a little bit complicated. And, since this multi-sig is sort of responsible for the management of this and, responding to the reports and stuff, it's not really a big change in the security assumptions to have it go through the multi-sig, I don't think.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's listed in the DApp right there, with the address, with of course the signers. Yeah, and it's cool. We can like share this around with people.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is they have these cool NFTs that are, I think they might be for early depositors as well, but I think there's ones associated with finding bugs. So if a hacker finds something and reports it, they get some cool NFT. And in terms of the values, I think it's hard to reason about like what the like amounts in these vaults will be, because I expect it to completely change when they do launch their protocol protection mining. Some cool NFTs.
These are different. Yeah, these are different types of POAPs here. Proof of protection. Cool. Yeah, well, I can help draft up something for this. I guess you're kind of in agreement. It should be that 790 DXD number set to the dev multi-sig to deposit into the Hats Finance bug bounty, decentralized bug bounty program. I guess they all have. Now I want to look at all the NFTs.
Has anyone? There's a button to submit a vulnerability. Should someone do that and see what happens? Like, should we test it?
Maybe next time we get. Like
it's already been tested, but go ahead and do a test. It wouldn't hurt to run through it again. We should. I was planning to kind of like go and refresh myself and probably help that committee here, which includes Sky, Chris, myself, Dave, and others. Refresh ourselves on the process, right? Because when the vault actually gets funded, you could potentially expect some more interest, right?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't recognize that if my address is.
And for the folks who maybe don't know, like the process is there's a Telegram group that can receive like encrypted communication. So when people submit these bug bounties, they can, the Telegram group gets a notification about it, right? And so it's the responsibility of that committee to review the submissions, and this should be done privately, right? Because potentially there might be some action that should be taken to protect users or secure funds or whatnot. But it's really the responsibility of that committee, and it's not a small one, right, to review those submissions and act accordingly to address any potential issues, and then to assess what the reward level would be in the case that like a serious vulnerability was actually discovered. Do they have staking? That was one thing that I was hoping they would have, because a concern would be potentially having some spam on submissions, which could become a bit of a burden.
I mean, I'm like looking, so you'd select.
Yeah, I remember
I mean, I guess you have to submit gas, right? I don't know. Isn't this like a on-chain transaction to submit?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Probably.
Like how that's the anti-spam measure these days.
On mainnet, quite effective.
Yeah, and these are good. I mean, this is like a nice list to be on. There's different ones trying out different things. So cool. I think I like their UI too, their feel.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool projects already on there with us. It's kind of nice.
There's my kid. Cool. Yeah, moving along, wanted to give a brief update on buyback stuff. I actually just submitted or just did a little bit of update in the market chatter channel in Discord for those that are interested. So just combine the trade volume data for, is there a way for me to yeah, people can see that. Yeah. So this is the trade volume data. You can see over the last month, there's a pretty big decline there. I assume a lot of that is kind of the holidays. There was some days with like very little trading volume here, but you can see there was a pretty big decline there. And then just looking at the chart here, kind of has been a pretty consistent trend over the last month or two in the kind of just under 100K daily volume. We are at, we just passed 8,600 DXD acquired through the buyback program, which is just doing the calculations here. Yeah, just over 17% of the circulating supply. And Dave, I think there's 93 ETH that's in the GP relayer now. So that should be enough for around like 8 or 9, 10 more orders. So I think starting maybe early next week, we'll be looking to get another extension proposal up. And yeah, and then I think just broadly speaking, I think there is a conversation we need to have about DXD liquidity more broadly, as it is kind of split across the different networks, and then with mainnet gas prices being high, wondering how to sustain a market there. And this is also, I think, a problem that every project in crypto is going to, which is like how to bootstrap and kind of maintain liquidity. So I'm kind of thinking about this and hoping to put a forum post up in the next couple of days here about some options to maybe coalesce around on DXD liquidity and how we kind of move forward there. But then, yeah, and then maybe next week, be on the lookout for another buyback extension proposal.
Chris, there's a bunch of factors that are now like actually probably affecting what circulating supply means. is there like that was circulating supply, like what was sold off the bonding curve, right? That total amount. And so DXD that DXDAO holds is not circulating, but now the buyback is held by DXDAO. So is that not circulating? And then also DXD that's paid out to workers if they get invested and they sell into the market, then it becomes circulating, right? So I think the circulating supply number is probably not correct anymore. I don't know, or at least to like clearly define it or something.
Just a comment. I have a couple, so I'll post it here. If you go to CoinGecko and look at how they are calculating the circulating supply, it is incorrect because effectively that treasury number is wrong. And the reason that's wrong is because it's not accounting for a lot of the DXD that has been acquired in the buyback through on Gnosis chain and like sitting in the relayers and such, right? So one way to make it correct would be to move all that DXD to the recognized, the one they're recognizing on mainnet, but we may not want to do that. Another thing we could pursue is trying to get CoinGecko to update how they track it to include the Gnosis chain treasury and stuff. But yeah, Dave, I think Dave has the correct number. In terms of the vesting DXD that has been sent out, I actually think CoinGecko is accounting for, if DXD leaves the treasury to go into a vesting contract, then it will reflect properly on CoinGecko. If, I know there's some backlog in DXD distribution though, right? So that's probably not correctly accounted for.
Yeah. So I think if you look on the sheet, so Dave and I have actually pulled these numbers, and if you look at the last two buyback extensions, they have a paragraph here that basically outlines these different numbers. And so this is the last one from December. So here we had purchased 7,379. So that was 7,400 DXD that was taken off of the market. But there also were some issuance. So I think there was 461 issuances that has actually left the treasury. That's gone into vesting contracts. And then there's 458 TXD that was issued for LPs to swapper farming. This was over the summer there. And then we actually do have the calculation for the unissued DXD. That was 1,908 DXD. There. And so I think together that is like almost 3,000, a little less than 3,000. So that's what's being subtracted from the new issuance is DXD that was issued to vesting contracts, unissued DXD that we tracked through the sheet right here, and also DXD that was issued through swapper farming rewards. And I think the only one that's really changing going forward is the unissued DXD one. And I think, Dave, all of these that's what's accounted for in this sheet here, right?
Yeah, sounds correct. Yeah.
And there's a whole other discussion. I think John is right. Is how can we get CoinGecko? Because it does matter what's on CoinGecko here. And I mean, I think it would be nice if we could get CoinGecko to track the XDXD, the base on Gnosis chain as not part of circulating supply. That would kind of be the ideal scenario, but I don't know if that works for them. And
I think they would support it. I think it's something they're probably capable of. I don't know what the time frame would be to get them to change it. It seems like they've maybe been a little bit slower than they were back in the day.
But the type of thing that we should be thinking about when we think of DXD liquidity, like how do we make sure this little things what's on CoinGecko is clear and accurate, because they putting some more attention on those things.
Yeah, it's important to the community and to the DXD holders, right? Because that's what's most visible to people who might be entering or coming in. And that's a thought I had looking at these numbers. I wonder, how much of the decrease in trading volume may be because of a consolidation in the DXD holders, right? Where, an amount of DXD has been taken off the market. Maybe part of the reason that there's less trading is kind of like a shrinking of the number of DXD holders. And not sure. I mean, it'd be interesting to take a look.
Yeah. Now split across different chains too, which is like another thing. Like, how do you get someone to come into DXD right at like I guess we can do that with XDAI now. I mean, sorry, that's just chain now that someone can come in at a smaller amount. Okay, then just moving along here, the Dow Denver partnership proposal. I just know that they were on the BizDev call, and there was some additional information, and I guess they were looking for maybe to move to a proposal. Nathan, I think you were coordinating with them. Do we need to do anything? Are they going to submit a proposal on Gnosis Chain?
Yeah, I've been liaising with Anu and Jennifer for the past few days. They sent me an email with a proposal that was kind of like out of this world, and I had to get them on the ground. They're revising it, and they'll send me an updated one that we can post on DAO Talk and move onwards with a discussion and approval and see how it goes.
What was it, like an Elon Musk proposal?
Pardon? I couldn't hear you well.
Was it like an Elon Musk proposal? Like, what do you mean out of this world?
Yeah, from outer space. No, they were asking projects for upwards of $25K up to $40,000, and I was like, "Do you know what you're doing, guys? Like, this is a 2-day event, and DXDAO could possibly be a part of it for half of the first day." And I gave them some examples with how we've supported Taoists in Paris and Lisbon, and that they really appreciated the feedback and that they will adjust it accordingly.
That's interesting, because when I first saw about this thing, I thought it was kind of a scam, because they were selling tickets for like $200 to $1,000 to attend this event, and it like sounded like a fake Taoist. And so
yeah, but I've attended one of their community calls, and they've liaised with the guys organizing ETH Denver. They've liaised with the guys doing the Taoist meetups. They're legit. They're just finding their feet, and they appreciate the feedback they're receiving. I told them that they need to prove themselves. I told them that we personally knew the guys that started the Taoist in Paris, and we were still hesitant whether they could pull this off and what the long-term, goal would be with this project and where they would take it, because no matter, and they don't even have any history in crypto. Nobody knows them. They haven't proven themselves with other projects. They are ambitious. They are serious. They're really not, scammers or anything like that. I've spoken to several individuals in their group, and they're all really nice people with good ideas in mind. But it seems like they struggle formulating them because they kind of formed last minute, and they're a bit piggybacking on what ETH Denver is doing at the moment. But when you put things in perspective, sponsoring a 10-day global hackathon and a conference with $20K on one hand, and then being asked to sponsor a 2-day event with $25K, it makes no sense, right?
I mean, what's the motivation to sponsor it anyway? What's the main motivation there? If they don't have
they're really passionate about DAOs. When I attended their community call, they were very attentive and listened closely to the way I presented DXDAO to them, and they didn't stop asking me questions. They were so interested in what we do. The meeting was dragged on to almost 3 hours.
Nathan, don't you think that they should be paying maybe you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, this is what the Taoists are doing, you know.
But the Taoists are free to attend, right? These guys are charging like 2K or something. Like, I think that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I think we should be careful though before we like pass any judgment. I mean, and again, this is like a recorded call, right? So they may view it later, and so I mean, of course, those numbers do seem a bit high, and we should give them that feedback. But I wouldn't assume that they have bad intentions necessarily.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I speak to this for a second too? This is Thriller.
Oh, Adam. Yeah.
Hi, especially since I submitted this proposal that's on there now. So, I think the organizations for whom it makes the most sense to sponsor are people selling stuff to DAOs, because that's what Taoists is quickly becoming. Every day there's a few people who join who are either leading or involved in the operations of some DAO. So it's all people that are connected to DAOs. I think, first of all, the proposal I submitted, and if it's okay to move forward with that, is a free partnership, right? It's still, they're getting value out of it, which would be DXDAO putting its logo on the materials for the event and then helping promote it to its members and even on Twitter. And so it's kind of just like a two-way, marketing partnership, and it really would help the conference, just attract more attendees and all that. Tickets are currently $100, and you're right, they're going to go up to $200 or $300. They're not thousands of dollars though. And I've seen the budget. I mean, it really does seem like there's valid expenses, up to a couple $100,000 between the venue and staff and stuff like that. So, that's what the ticket prices and the sponsorships will mostly pay for. So I would still say, if we could split this into two things. One is the partnership, and if it's all right, I'll post that to DXvote to see if we could move forward. And then two would be, actually sponsoring with, whatever dollar amount, if it makes sense to do, and if the dollar amount is right, I more leave that up to you guys in the group. So that's how I would think about it.
Cool. Thanks for hopping on and giving that context. And yeah, I think there would be a lot of things going on in Denver. So it's good for us to be participating in the ones that are there where we can align interest.
Yeah, it's good that Adam made the distinction. We're not obliged to sponsor it. We could still partner with them completely free of charge. We don't have to pay for it. It is just showing support for the event. So we're not obliged to have any, financial commitment. But at the end of the day, I'm sure they will come up with a really nice revised package that will be totally worth it.
Adam, are you part of the organizing team, or are you just friends with them, or how are you a part of it?
So I'm not part of the executive team, which is like there's like 6 people that are working almost full time on this. And so while they are getting a late start, I do think they're going to put together a good event. I've been on some of their calls, and I've just told them, hey, I'm going to contribute where I can. I'm going to try to bring in DAOs that I'm involved in a little bit. I'm new to all the DAOs I'm involved in, but I said I'll help spread the word and, try to recruit speakers and stuff like that. So I'm probably a little more involved than the average person from Taoists, but also not part of the core team putting on the event.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. And I do believe in the Taoists group. I would say there are what feel like growing pains, and I hope if they do listen to this, they won't be too offended. But it's very new. It's still, they're going through, and I know you guys probably experienced this too, but they're going from having like 2 or 3 really active leaders to now like 10 or 15 people that are really active in trying to contribute to the group. And of course, there's like hundreds of people that are just a little bit involved in the Discord. But that transition from like everyone being involved in every decision to trying to divvy up, responsibilities and leadership. And obviously we deal with this in the regular world too, right? It's not just a DAO problem, but that's, it's a challenge, but I do believe in the people. I think they have really good intentions. I think the event will be really good. I mean, we're bringing on good speakers and partners and everything. So yeah, that's my involvement with them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate you making this post, and it is interesting, and maybe even if the sticker price is a little higher than what we're used to seeing, I mean, there could be good reason for that, right? Maybe they're just going for a higher quality, like higher expense event, and that could be, that could be a successful approach, depending if they can get the right sponsors, and then maybe we can find like a way that feels kind of appropriate to our budget to be involved as well.
Yeah, and doing due diligence, I've been monitoring the activity on their Discord. They are putting a real effort. As Adam mentioned, they have several people doing full-time contributions to the Daoists, and they even have a proper documentation with their mission statement and all that I can share with you guys. And I remember back in July when we were about to sponsor and attend the Daoist in Paris, they also formed last minute. They barely had a website. They had no mission statement. They had no explanation what they're going to do with the funds. And at the same time, they were asking projects to sponsor them with 10K. So that there are a lot of similarities and there's a lot of trust involved. But I do see some genuine and serious commitment from those guys. So I don't think there's any concern. And as I said, they've received my feedback. I was pretty stern with my feedback. I stated everything as it is, and they received it very in a great way. And they promised to get back to us with something that would probably find a hard time saying no to.
Sorry, I was muted. I was going to say
I was just about to point out. I was like, Chris, you're muted.
Well, it's funny because I was literally saying I like Thriller's shark logo. That was the only comment. I think it's a shark.
Thank you.
Dolphin.
It's an orca NFT, but you're not the first person to think it's a shark. So either way, I appreciate it.
more sharks in crypto and DeFi and DAOs. Sharks are
and whales.
Well, we got enough whales, I think.
Okay. Good point.
Maybe enough sharks too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good. Maybe friendly sharks. I don't know. Okay, moving along here. I do not think Keenan is on the call, but just wanted to call attention to another round of the Discord rep boost for Q4. I posted this in the forum a couple days ago, so I think we'll probably having this on chain in the next couple days here. You can see the different rewards here. I think Kirishima is the top award winner this month, followed closely again by Luigi Lemon, and then a lot of the other familiar faces that people know and love from the DXDAO Discord. I should note to be on the lookout for these awards, that whenever they do go through, it does tend to clog up governance and also take a lot of gen to get all of those through. So we'll try to coordinate that as best as possible. Cool. And then last on the list, and Melanie, I wasn't sure if we had any contributor UX updates or anything from your side.
Yeah. So just a quick check-in. As everyone knows, we're getting ready for ETH Denver in February. But on Monday, I posted in the forum just a draft proposal for a contributor stipend for ETH Denver. So the post outlines just various amounts, such as transportation, accommodation, and COVID testing amounts that should be reimbursed to contributors attending the conference. I'm open to discussing the amounts that are laid out in the proposal, but based off of the cost of living and in America and Denver, and flight costs from Europe and South America, I definitely think that all the amounts listed are fair. Leave a comment in the forum, if you have any opposing views or different opinions. Ideally, I'll be posting on chain in the upcoming days if there's just no opposition, but just excited for ETH Denver coming up. And then also one more thing, DXDAO completed its first contributor review process. Over the past month, our core contributors have been participating in a contributor review process, which consisted of each core contributor providing 2 or 3 reviews for other members of the squads they're active in. Obviously, the hope of the process is to provide valuable feedback for one another's contributions. And then finally, on Monday, the review process came to an end. And to complete the process, each core DXDAO contributor should have received 2 or 3 reviews completed by the other contributors at DXDAO. We hope that we can continue this process at least 2 or 3 times a year. We're hoping to iterate and just improve the review process as time passes. This is kind of just our first trial, and looking forward to just kind of continuing throughout the year and then providing each other with feedback that I know we've been asking for a while. So if you received yours, if you have any questions, please come to myself or Allie. If you have any ways to kind of improve as well, definitely would appreciate any feedback. And yeah, that's it.
And Melody, just on the actually the Denver stipend. So for this, does this mean just the accommodation costs are paid for and they just like submit the amount?
Yes. We thought that that'd probably be the best way to go. So whether you're staying at a hotel or a hostel or Airbnb, just submit the full cost. And
Yeah.
we should be covering it.
I would imagine within some limit there, perhaps.
Yes, within a
The
reasonable.
nicest room at the Art Hotel.
Right. I mean, I hope nobody's staying at like a 5-star like luxury hotel for 20 days. There is a Ritz-Carlton in Denver, I think, actually.
Hopefully all the Airbnbs will go through. I just remember the talk of the Ritz-Carlton in Lisbon or the Four Seasons or something.
Yeah, wow.
We could do a funny competition. The person with the cheapest accommodation gets a bonus.
Incentives. Okay, we are just at the top of the hour now. Any parting thoughts, comments, any announcements? Awesome. Well,